I'm Expeke, and I'm here to take the throne back.
Welcome back to the Season 3 World Championship. In just a couple of minutes, Cloud9 and Fnatic will return to the Rift for Game 2 of that quarter-final showdown. But right now, I'm happy to be joined in the interview lounge by Fnatic's manager, Harry. Harry, first of all, congratulations on a great group stage, losing just one game there. I want to start off, right by there. It's the first time we've managed to talk to you from this one, but how did you feel after losing the first game in Worlds? Did you have a bit of a bad feeling about how things were going to go from there?
Not really. I think we just went into that game with the wrong mindset, and our picks were really bad. It didn't fit us at all, and we basically just had to go over the game afterwards and just notice that this is not the Fnatic playstyle and picks that everyone is used to, even ourselves. So we just had to change it up, and obviously that fixed everything.
So no more Yorick.
No more Yorick.
The guys will be happy about that backstage. So let's move on to today. A win here in game number 1. Very, very close, though. Give us your thoughts on that first match.
Well, I think the picks went really well for us. They banned Ahri, which I'm not sure whether we would have taken, but over Kassadin, it's kind of difficult with us because we rate Kassadin very high since we even first picked it. But yeah, the picks were really perfect for us. It's just that the start of the game was very, very slow. It's such a hyped up game and so much on the line. So each team was not taking any risks, but C9 started to get a bit ahead and we managed to claw back by actually making some plays, which was great to see because that's how I really see them at their best. That's where they really excel, is when they really just go for crazy moves which surprise these teams.
So a bit about your job here, obviously, as the manager of Fnatic. What have you done these last couple of days, to get the guys ready for this one? Talk to us about your schedule pretty much yesterday, the time that you had to prepare in between the groups and today's game.
Yeah, we didn't have too much time to prepare for Cloud9. Only one day. I just got them fully booked with scrims for the day, and we have a coach with us who's helping us out a lot, and we were just really preparing strats and our picks for the matches yesterday, yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Harry, and good luck in the rest of the best of 3, and if it all goes well, in the rest of the tournament as well. So, guys, we're going to get back underway and get over to Demon and Jack for more quarter-final action.
Thank you very much, Joe. It is indeed time for Game 2 of this best of 3 quarterfinals matchup between Cloud9 and Fnatic. And with one more win, Expeke and the European champions will lock in the first spot for this weekend's semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, game 1 just lived up to the hype. #1 seed from the European LCS, #1 seed from the North American LCS, and then for the first 25 minutes, it was a crazy, crazy close game. But then Expeke proved again why you just gotta fear this guy. They banned so many champions out from the mid lane. Fizz, Ken, and Zed, Orianna, and Ahri were all banned out. So we just first picked Kassadin and decided to dominate.
And how do you do the bans? Because you talk about, actually, you mentioned it in the picks and ban phase, that Hai actually was affected a lot more because he was forced onto effectively a champion he hasn't really played in big competitions.
I actually really wonder about this as we move into picks and bans for the next game. How much Cloud9 is going to play the mid lane ban game, specifically because they have first pick. And they can effectively force Fnatic to use all their bans on Hai, but then don't really bother trying to ban out Peke, because any ban against Peke is a soft ban against Hai as well, and they already know that Peke wins that matchup. So I'd think that Cloud9 would focus their bans elsewhere, but they actually go with the exact same bans as game 1.
Exact same bans so far. Remember, Hai can play Kassadin. Instead, they've banned out Kassadin. So they're like, no, not going to get to play that one. What does that leave open? Will they go for that Zyra first pick?
Well,
because
it
you're
leaves
going
the
to
Fizz open, because the Fizz was banned last game instead of the Kassadin.
The problem is, Peke knows what to do against the Fizz. He's played against them a lot in the European LCS.
And I know that in the North American regionals, Hai picked a Fizz into Scar's Diana and got beaten up really badly. I feel like Expeke is also going to have a plan for Fizz. Not sure exactly what it is as of yet, because his Kassadin's obviously taken away. And if I'm thinking about this, probably every champion that Peke has played so far in the World Championships is off the table right now. He might just end up trying to pull out Gragas, even though Fizz is a counterpick to Gragas, but he might just have that much faith in himself.
Well, we'll see what he does go with.
That's just the mid lane.
I think potentially this is going to be Zyra Corki once again, locked in.
Absolutely.
It seemed to work so well for them. There it is.
There's D-Man with the bold prediction right there, but it's not Super Bowl because we know that Lemon Nation, #1 rated support is Zyra. Yellowstar is really good at Zyra as well. Power pick that they can just take away.
Absolutely.
And Pushu's Corki was dishing out an extreme amount of damage. We know that Corki has exploded onto the scene here at the World Championships with the buffs and the Trinity Force. Once again, I mean, Fnatic has the damage output from from Pushu when he's on Corki, and it allows him to pick a bunch of roaming assassins and again try to catch the rest of Cloud9 in rotations. Like, so far in this game, things are very much in the way of Fnatic so far for picks and bans.
Well, Peke may have took a lot of the highlight reels. I don't think Pushu actually died in that last match. I'm trying to think back.
He was 6-0 or 7-0.
Yeah, something like crazy like that. So he's did very well in the lane phase. Will we see the Ashe coming out? Oh, switch around this time. Nocturne for Meteos and Thresh for elimination.
So Meteos has pulled out some Nocturne in the past. He'll go full tank. He's done it at the North American Regionals. I've talked to him about the difference between his full tank and his full damaging Nocturne. He says the full tank one is the serious Nocturne that he'll play, and he'll need to do it in this game if he wants to be able to dive through Zyra and onto Corki and actually take a couple of hits. Thresh, once again, is the support I expected from Lemon Nation last game once the Zyra got taken away from him. And this is Cloud9, as we usually see, just defaulting back to their Cloud9 picks.
And I wonder whether this is Peke pulling out a Faker or whether it would be for Soaz. Remember, Soaz really has an enormous champion pool. This is like the versatility of Fnatic. The fact that Soaz in the top, Peke in the mid, they have such an enormous champion pool. We could see Soaz being squeezed onto Shen. Shen, who has made it possibly through to the 7th pick.
Yep.
How did I even forget Twisted Fate? That is...
Twisted Fate's left for Peke.
That is Peke's champion.
Yeah.
But up against the Fizz, that's a mismatch.
Well, it's a mismatch for most people at the time. But once again, Peke, he's the guy who first picked Kassadin last game against Tai. So he has the confidence in himself to do that. Then they actually swapped right out of Shen into Elise right now.
Favorite champion.
Could very well be Elise in the jungle or in the top lane. They're keeping it open right here. I think by showing the Shen pick right there, Fnatic, is almost daring Cloud9
do you want
to
to
pick
take
the
Shen?
Like, are you sure you don't want to have Shen?
We've got Twisted Fate. Do you want Shen?
Do you want Shen to block that? And no, they're just going with Rumble. This is something that Alex Penn was talking to me about, is how in all of their pick and ban scenarios, they just assumed that Rumble would be banned out because it is Ball's far and away favorite champion. Last game it was not banned out. They decided to go with Shen anyway. But now, with everything on the line, they go to it because it's what got them here.
And that, I believe, is simply the versatility of Fnatic switching around it, because I'm almost certain that would have been Soaz. Soaz has got such an enormous record on Elise, a win record. But instead, they could just switch it around, and it's a case of, you're going to be up against the Rumble, what do you want to play? Do you want to stick with Elise, or should we give that Cyanide? Because Cyanide's played Elise a number of times as well.
Yeah, they can do almost whatever they want. They have a lot of options open here. They could always go with another Lissandra. They could try to do that. They could do the jungle Elise. He's sitting on Kha'Zix. Why would he be sitting on Kha'Zix if he was going to pick Kha'Zix? He would have just picked it.
Nah, he's not picking Kha'Zix. He's trying to get me going. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I'm not falling for it. They are going to sit on Zac, and Zac will be set. So, Zac's could be, again, this could be mid lane or jungler.
I think it's top lane. Especially recently, Zac has mainly been seen in the top lane. That was the immediate trade that they did.
Yep.
All right, then. So Cloud9 has tried to load more of their crowd control into their bottom lane like usual, and then they're relying on their jungler, top lane, and mid to just do pure damage. Whereas this time, Fnatic actually has a little bit more crowd control than we've seen in the past, but just as much closing ability. This is another composition that Fnatic can play very solidly. It's another Fnatic style. But this time I feel like Cloud9 actually has a couple more tools to deal with it.
And again, in my discussions with Fnatic, when I was talking about, I love Soaz and Peke being on Assassins, it's the flow, and it's a great game to cast when they're roaming around the team, as we just saw in the last match. But in Soaz's words, says, yeah, but you can't play the same all the time. You've got to switch it up, and that may be what they've done here. Has Cloud9, though, got the champions they wanted, because they're very comfortable champions for them.
Yeah, the big thing that I'm going to be watching for in this game is Hai versus Peke. You first pick the Fizz after so many mid lane bans, and then you get Peke on Twisted Fate. Whether or not Hai can shut him down, and I mean actually shut him down. If you're trading with him, generally Peke will make the plays in the late game. Cloud9 definitely has to put a focus down onto Soaz in this match. Or sorry, into Peke.
And one something before we jump in towards anything else, what I want to talk about here with Fnatic is when we see Peke on Twisted Fate, they're not looking to fight. He's looking to split push. It's going to be a 4v4. They're going to force those 4v4s, and Peke is just going to be off doing his thing.
And it is extremely difficult to split push against a Fizz. If Fizz gets going a little bit. I always consider Fizz a hyper carry as far as mid lane assassins go. And last game, Cloud9 definitely got outscaled a little bit as they were trading. I don't know if the same will be true in this match.
Well, we've seen some fantastic Fizz so far in the tournament here in the Season 3 World Championships live in Los Angeles. We are in Culver Studios. We'll be moving into the Galen for the semi-finals. The question is, which team will be going there? Will it be Fnatic, who are 1-0 up, or will it be Cloud9, the North American champions? Can they make it through? They've got to pick up this win here. They've got to go 2 wins on the bounce. Fnatic in a comfortable position, and that, I feel, may make them play a little bit more cautiously.
I really wonder if Fnatic is going to let Cloud9 get one back here, because Fnatic is so close right now to moving into the top 4 teams in the world, whereas Cloud9, they're just getting started here at the World Championships. They just played their first game. They lose again, they're out already. This is not a game where Cloud9 has any margin for error, and I wonder, because of how freely Cloud9 has played all year, how they've just seemingly been carefree about all their games, and I think that's one of the big reasons they were so successful. I don't know if you can play like that in a situation like this. North America's last hope, you've heard them all talk about how much pressure they're putting themselves under to try and not let the North American fans down, and they have to win this one.
Well, Cloud9, can they play fast and loose, or will Fnatic put a crimp in their style? Of course, the flash was burned from Yellow Star early on last match. This time not going to happen. Ward coverage from Cloud9 getting on towards that red buff. You see Fnatic doing exactly the same thing, passing that ward though in that river. So Cloud9 are well aware of their position with that ward in the bush. Ooh. Looking at a stun card from Peke. Going to throw that one out and high and say, yep, I'm here. You're not going to come this way.
No, he's cutting you off.
Walk the long way around.
Yeah, he's making him take the long way around right there. Peke already trying to assert his dominance. It's about sending a message early on in the mid lane.
We'll see whether they do. He went for boots at the start, actually.
He does that frequently on TF as well. It's generally for gold card threat when you're doing something like this, and what the heck does Sneaky have planned right now?
Is he going to try and piercing arrow steal this?
I don't think it reaches. I think he'd have to flash over.
Nope, it's not going to happen anyway. The smite was used, Lemonation, putting a bit of lashing on Soaz, but he will just head up towards the top. So we have a lane swap coming on here. 2v1s in both bottom and top. And as well as this mid lane dominance pressure. Peke thinking again. But let's look at these lanes. Lemonation and Sneaky already pinning down Soaz, taking him very low on hit points at the very beginning than the level 1 exchanges.
Yeah, and High already trying to jump on Peke, so a bunch of early trading because of the wards that Cloud9 had placed in Fnatic's jungle. They knew the pathing of Cyanide, which allowed both of their mid lane and top lane AD carry and support to go aggressive early. I feel like that was a mistake of Soaz to be pushed up that far, knowing he was against 2 people. And now Meteos, knowing that Elise is down at the bottom, is going to just try, I believe, a 3v1 dive or a straight-up turret push as soon as Soaz comes to the lane. They're actually targeting Soaz right now instead of Peke for their shutdown.
It's a straight-up fast push on the tower. We'll see how well it works out. We're only in that 3-minute mark, so that tower will be stronger, reinforced. Soaz, of course, just hanging around, not going to get too close and aggressive on this one. Meanwhile, down the bottom, they were actually zoning quite heavily on balls there, and you can see they're still doing it. So they're keeping him away from the experienced balls, still at level 1 as well as Soaz.
He might even be just going back to base. No, he's sticking around. Both of those solo lanes are in great danger right now. Soaz decided to go jungle and is effectively just giving the turret away to Cloud9. 3 minutes, 32 seconds, first turret of the game.
Yeah, who needs a patch on the turrets, eh? Not these guys, that's for sure. But it is going to be High going aggressive. Urgent Strike is available on Peke. You can see he's already used the Ignite. It's going to take him very low. High should get this one. First blood for High.
That is exactly what Cloud9 needs in this game. High making a play onto Peke. 1v1, mono-y-mono, finishing him off with Fizz. That's the reason it's dangerous to pick Twisted Fate into Fizz.
Cloud9 continuing to push on towards this inner turret, and they're going to get it down. There's no way Fnatic can react to this one. Soaz is just off the side, but he's got nothing. He's still at level 1. He's going to get caught out. Soaz in trouble, gets leashed. Piercing arrow comes across, forced across. He's got his passive available, and he should just about survive.
Yeah, and the backup had arrived for Fnatic. So Fnatic trades a turret back here, keeping the gold fairly even, but Soaz and Balls have both been heavily denied in this game. One of the reasons that Balls loves the Rumble pick so much is he doesn't care generally about how far behind he gets, because he is so confident in his ability to land equalizers that he'll just sit back. He can be 0-5 in a game and still come in for team fights.
Interesting, different style. Like Cloud9 keep trying to push shove on towards that top, almost like the Chinese teams we've seen so far. Soaz was just having to absorb the experience, does finally get level 2. Meanwhile, Balls, he realized he couldn't get the bottom. They were keeping him completely zoned out. He went to the middle, actually got feed a little bit of experience. Lemonation taking a lot of burst from Peke, not going to get anything from it. Cloud9 stacking up very nicely at the moment in this mid lane.
Yeah, they were trying to orchestrate a 4v1 dive onto Peke, but Cyanide was there for the lane support. Despite the first blood, Cloud9 sacrificed so much farm in order to get that the gold is actually even. So the 600, or actually it wasn't 600, it was only 400 gold they got for first blood because they didn't get access to the assist pool since High 1v1'd him. And that's basically been made up by Fnatic's slightly superior farming in both the top lane and in the AD carry position.
Certainly made Peke respect High a little bit more. He's definitely staying a little bit further back. And the problem is, as I was about to say for Peke, that once High starts getting to level 5, 6, he's definitely going to out-duke Peke in that lane phase. There's no doubt about that.
And it means that Peke is going to have an issue finding the positions in the side lanes. High, especially when Fizz gets ahead of you, no longer gets denied farm, because oftentimes early on in games, High gets heavily denied in farm on Fizz because it's melee versus range, but as soon as Fizz pulls ahead, it's no longer an issue.
Yeah, we do see a bit of a switch from the lanes, and of course Cloud9 are going to move that 2v2 lane down towards the bottom there. Ball's up against Soaz. Now meanwhile in that top lane, Soaz has a level experience advantage over him right now, and that trade seems to be going quite well towards Balls. In fact, that Flame Spitter doing work, but Soaz continuing to keep that gold flowing.
Really trying to live in the danger zone right there as Rumble, and High goes in as Cyanide is procking around the outside. He's in danger getting locked up here.
Stun card there, but look at Cyanide. He'd repelled up, but wisely High had already managed to trickster away and get out of that range. Meanwhile, Meteos hasn't hit 6 yet, but he's very close to it. He's just off those wraiths, so he may have that paranoia available in a moment.
Yeah, there's a couple big farm differentials already developing in this game. You obviously have Meteos out-farming Cyanide as he does to every jungler because he puts such a heavy emphasis on clearing camps. But also, you see Pushu far ahead of Sneaky because Sneaky puts so much emphasis into turret diving. We really have to see whether Meteos' farm can transition Cloud9 this game because it did not in the first one.
There's a potential switch around. Where is Yellowstar going? Are we going to see two moving in towards that mid lane? Doesn't look like it, judging by Pushu's position, and so he's heading down. So it's simply Yellowstar trying to assist and help out some ward control around that river area. You can see he's heading up towards the blue buff, so potentially they're going to try and fight for the blue buff here. You can see Yellowstar's going to go around there. Peke desperately shoving that lane. Actually close in terms of farm. Sorcerer's Boots have been picked up by High, so he's got the edge over Peke so far.
Very interesting positioning here by Yellowstar, getting so many deep wards, and those were honestly quite dangerous wards for him to be going and placing. Sure, Peke could have helped support, but I mean, both AD carries are on the bottom of the map, and Cloud9, especially with Rumble, if he can ever hit level 6, would live for a fight in the jungle. But with all that being said, Meteos is trying to orchestrate a gank down the bottom lane, and this is a clean blue buff steal by Fnatic.
And this
being
is
unexpected.
This is surely a clean gank as well on that bottom lane, but this could be the blue steal. Cyanide will take that away. Meteos is actually backing off. I thought he was going to go for a push. He was all on his own down the bottom there because of what Yellowstar's been doing.
Yeah.
And they're just unaware of his position.
Absolutely. High now trying to close in around, but this is not the people that Cloud9 wants. High's in a big bit of trouble right here.
He's going to repel through, playful trickster away. Cocoon does land, as does the Grasping Roots. High takes a bit of damage. The Ignite also thrown on towards him from Yellowstar, but they will all back away from that one. Cloud9 could have took advantage of that situation in the bottom. Instead, they chose to defend out that top because they felt something was coming. And it's actually freed up Peke and Fnatic in this mid lane.
But at the moment, Fnatic is the one forcing rotations, and that is the position they are most comfortable in. Nocturne trying to counter.
Well, he does have that stun card, and Wise, he doesn't use it. Waits for the shield. Cyanide gets hooked in there. Oh, repels just out of Earth there. Is he going to be able to get back down in time? No, he's not. That will be the kill. Lemonation picks that up. Meteor's taken very low here. They're going to continue. The Dominants try and counter towards him. He will back off. Stun card being pulled. Are they going to go for Lemonation? They will. Flashes out of it nicely to avoid the wildcards.
And if that locked him down, I think Pushu actually could have bursted him, even though he was so healthy. A smart flash there by Lemon Nation coming down, but now the lane pressure by Fnatic might try and take out this turret of Cloud9.
We do see Pushu's gone back towards the bottom. Look at that playful trickster bouncing on towards Yellowstar and Peke. You see the danger that Fizz can possess. And actually, it is Peke continuing to keep that farm rolling. He's keeping up with High despite that early kill that he managed to put on him ordinarily in that straight 1v1. Once you lose that first blood, you're in all sorts of trouble. Pushu getting a mountain of farm down that bottom because Cloud9 had shoved that wave on towards him. So Pushu's going to get that stretch and creep score against Sneaky.
And I think throughout this World Championships, Fnatic, more so than any other team, has showed their ability to bounce back in games because There's been a couple games where they're down 2,000 gold, 3,000 gold landing phase, but then they always make plays.
Sneaky getting caught out. He's going to get stunned in. That's the Peke. Destiny, brilliant dark passage pulled out by Lemonation.
Just making it in range. Sneaky still has his Varus ultimate as Cloud9 pushes up the mid lane as well.
Meteos gets locked up by the cocoon, but he does escape successfully, and Fnatic hold onto that middle turret. This game is certainly heating up. Cloud9 creating plays as well as Fnatic.
There's some pink ward control in the Dragon area for Cloud9, but once again, as you said, Peke looking to split push the bottom lane. He used his Destiny to get Sneaky out of there, and he's just trying to farm up really away from Fizz and away from the main threats of Cloud9.
So we do see Pushu back in this mid lane. They've gone for that Phage, and of course, Sneaky going for that BF sword. Wants to get those big bursts of damage from that piercing arrow if they can land. Sheen been picked up by Peke. Meanwhile, High still got those Source Boots. Hasn't been back to buy that just yet. Is he going to go for the Lich Bane early on here?
Well, the last time I saw him play Fizz, he actually rushed the Zhonya's Hourglass because he loves being able to get off a second set of spells in teamfights. And this is actually a sneaky rotation by Cloud9. They had the pink wards in the area, and this looks like a uncontested dragon by Fnatic. Fnatic may not even get mid-turret pressure on this one, but they definitely have the top turret.
Balls is defending off, and he keeps Peke away. We do see Pushu going towards the top, though, so they're going to get a big burst of chunk of damage down on towards his top turret. The rest of Fnatic are rotating up there, so they should be able to catch this one out. However, they've left the middle kind of exposed here. There is only Cyanide keeping Lemonation and Sneaky away from this turret.
Fnatic is actually hoping to catch Cloud9 defending that top turret, which is why they're out of position, and this time, Cloud9 guesses right instead of wrong and gets mid.
So it's going to be 4 members of Fnatic going towards the top, but 3 members of Cloud9 do take down that middle turret. Turret for turret, but more importantly, Dragon flowing in the direction of Cloud9. Will they continue to push, though?
Yeah, this is a very dangerous time. Balls might get caught out. He flashes. Can Peke catch?
Stun card comes in, but is Peke taking the tower hits, and he may just defend this one off. Can he hold on? Pushu's taking too many tower hits. He's going to go down. No barrier comes out. Saves the day, but the rest of Cloud9 are collapsing on this one. Piercing arrow will come across. Pushu is back in already. He may be able to get off from this one. It seems that Fnatic have stole the march this time around.
Wow, that was an incredibly one-sided 4v1 dive. Balls nearly took down 2, but Fnatic does get the kill out of it. I don't know if that's worth it, though. Meteos free pushing this bottom lane. Balls actually got a fair bit of farm with that equalizer because it cleared the whole minion wave as well. And High was farming in the middle. Even though Fnatic got a kill out of that exchange, I'd say Cloud9 came out on top.
Absolutely. Fantastic play and fantastic equalizer from Balls. Getting Pushu pretty much nailed, nearly got him, pulled, forced the barrier out, and all that farm. Meteos, meanwhile, he just needs a little bit of help, and here it comes. Cyanide in trouble. He can repel away from this one, but will it be too late? Peke comes in. He's going to have that stun card ready. Who's he can land it on? Not Meteos, that's for sure, because he had his spell shield ready and waiting to go. And Cloud9 back out.
At least Fnatic saved that turret. So for now, the outer 3 turrets remain 1/3 intact for Fnatic. They really need to keep those up. As of now, High, boy, he was actually too worried right there of Cyanide, but he goes in anyway. Not for much.
Stun card at the right time, just about. That was a fast stun card pull from Peke there.
Yeah, he's pretty good at Twisted Fate right there. It could have just been a double tap, and he's like, oh, nice. I got
that was handy.
Yeah, I've done that before.
We've all done that.
I feel like Peke might be a little better than me, though.
Right now, though, we do see Fnatic trailing 1,000 gold behind. Meteos picks up that red buff. Cloud9 stacking back around this mid. Fnatic are in defensive position, but of course that tower already down. Pushu heading towards the top, trying to get that Trinity Force complete. Gets that farm continuing to roll. And then in terms of farm, it is actually Fnatic just edging ahead slightly. But look at Meteos compared to Cyanide. There's a big differential there.
Yeah, and Meteos needs to make that differential felt in teamfights. Preferably before Pushu can finish his Trinity Force, because we know what happened last game when Pushu finished his Trinity Force. And also another thing that's happened across both these games is Fnatic has put a bunch of attention to Cloud9's blue buff. And with High in the bottom lane, there's no way he can pick up that blue buff on Fizz. In fact, Cloud9 might just be taking it for themselves, so Fnatic can't steal it away, as Sneaky took the blue buff for himself on Varus.
Yeah, making sure they keep hold of that one. High's going to keep pushing this bottom lane. Fnatic, if they don't deal with him, they will lose that bottom turret, and I believe, judging by the positioning, it is going to happen. So Fnatic may indeed stack towards this middle. We do see Meteos and Sneaky sticking around in the mid lane at the moment, though, so they're going to keep Fnatic's 3-man push at bay. Peke is backing off. What's he going to buy? What's he going to pull out? It is just simply going to be ward coverage that he requires. That turret's going to take itself down.
Peke is going very defensive on Twisted Fate this game. As you said, he's not looking to fight. who's looking to split push this game. And it is a very different style that Fnatic has to play here. Even though they're still trying to catch Cloud9 in rotations, their catch potential and their ability to finish off a Cloud9 person while they're caught in a rotation is much lower. Zach is full tank. Twisted Fate is building defensively. That is nothing compared to the damage that Lissandra and Kassadin were putting out in the previous game. This is much more a comfort zone for Cloud9 than it is for Fnatic.
And the fact that High has just gone back and got himself that needlessly large drop tells me that Cloud9, they want to fight. They want to fight fast and early, it seems. And Fnatic, meanwhile, they don't want to be in this. They're going to back away once again.
Yeah, and you can see Fnatic's already in very defensive formations. They don't have split pushes going in any of their lanes. They've lost their outer 3 turrets, and they have effectively lost ward control over the Dragon area as well. Even though Cloud9 hasn't put down many pink wards, they're keeping Fnatic back just by having bodies in the way.
And you've talked about how important the Rumble, his equalizer, can be on that Dragon control. It could be a vital turning point in Fnatic. I'm not sure when this Dragon comes up in a minute whether they want to fight for it.
I don't know if, like, it's very tricky. Instead, they'd rather get a catch somewhere else, and they get high with the gold card.
They're going to catch on towards him. He's going to jump away. Good Earth coming out there, but oh, the cocoon landing max range there from Cyanide locks him down. That may signal it. He's going to be back up in 30 seconds. Dragon's up in 50. He's got 20 seconds to run for the Dragon.
See, those are the types of fights that Fnatic wants to try and catch because they can't win in a 5v5, but in a 5v1, they absolutely can because they were just able to chase High down. If Cloud9 can't make counterplays to those types of attacks, they're going to try and do that every time Destiny is up for Peke.
We'll see which way Peke goes with his build. Whether he's going to rush out the Lich Bane. We do see Zhonya's Hourglass going to be coming out from High as that first item. Balls, meanwhile, with that Haunting, guys. He's going to get himself some of that farm going. He's fell quite a long way behind Soaz in terms of farm. You can see it's a 30 CS difference.
And Balls really wants level 11, so one more level, and that equalizer is going to become substantially more threatening. They've managed to get High up. Actually, Pushu is off in the top lane right now farming, and this could effectively just be a Dragon for Cloud9. Fnatic is going to push mid in contrast to this.
They're going to try and rush this Dragon down. Fnatic, as you said, you can already see Peke's position and all of Fnatic's position going straight for that mid lane. Pushu with the Trinity Force completed, Bloodthirster completed for Sneaky.
This could be a Cloud9 fight as soon as possible. They might try to engage from the side, since Fnatic has exposed themselves.
They've got the turret. Can they get back in towards it? High's trying desperately to get close. It's going to be the Paranoid diving on towards Cyanide. Stranglethorns was used. It's going to bounce Meteos up. We can see Lemonation throwing down the box, but Meteos is taken so low. The Ignite's running. Hasn't yet found a kill. Pushu taken so low. Pushu goes down. Cyanide manages to get a kill as well. High's getting locked up, but there's not a lot of damage coming out from Fnatic right now. Gold card ready. Catches on towards Balls. You can see Wildcard potentially going to follow. No. Gets flashed out of. Fnatic haven't got position. Gold card's going to get pulled once again. It's Sneaky that gets focused. They're going to see the damage coming out from High is huge, but he doesn't manage to find the target. Ignite gets him down. It was a double kill for Soaz though. Big exchange between Fnatic and Cloud9, but it was overall a 2-for-2.
Wow. So just another crazy fight from this Fnatic versus Cloud9 series. Soaz, all right, he's okay. He's fine, he's Zach.
He's like, I got Cell Division. Lemonation may get him on towards him here. There's nobody else too close to him. There's a ward placement going down. Loses one of his flobbers, but instead he walks away.
I have to say, even though Cloud9 felt much more confident in that fight, I think the way in which they engaged made them have a bit of a disadvantage. You could see High waited around the outside of this fight for so long without actually jumping in, whereas Pushu was getting down his Gatling gun and his missiles onto many people. Once Cloud9 saw Pushu, they were able to go for him, but as far as the overall positioning of the fight, Pushu got off substantially more damage than Sneaky did. At the same time, Peke was never really focused and then could chase down with gold cards and his movement speed that he got from his upgraded boots very early on. That is a very promising fight for Fnatic since they effectively got engaged on 5v5. And as far as overall damage does, you look at that bar at the bottom, they did a lot more damage to Cloud9 than Fnatic did.
But look at this. Cloud9 heavily shoving their way in towards the enemy jungle, making sure they can get this red buff locked down, and Fnatic, I'm not sure they can deal with this one. Soaz is just off to the side. Cyanide is there, but that red buff has gone.
Yeah, and I mean, this is another one of these games. I almost feel like Fnatic is slowly pulling ahead for whatever reason, and a lot of that just has to do with the 80 carry farm right now. Pushu is 173 to Sneaky's 123, and in that last fight, Cloud9 didn't necessarily display an ability to kill Pushu immediately, and they almost have to. High's rushed his Zhonya's, which means he's a little safer going in. But if Meteos and High cannot deal with Pushu on their own, I feel like he's going to wreck the mid line of Cloud9 just with all the damage he's pumping out right now with his Trinity Force and the analyst desk disapproving of his Sorcerer Shoes.
Yeah, second blue buff in a row given across to Sneaky there as well, so they really want to keep those piercing arrows flowing, and Cloud9 stacking up towards his top lane. They've already taken that red buff away, starting to try and get ward control back in the jungle of Fnatic. But you do see Peke up there, keeping them at bay, and Cloud9 react. They spin around to the mid lane.
And I do have to note that Peke has 600 gold from his loaded dice passive right now, so if it was a normal character, the gold would be actually up for a bit by Cloud9. They might engage right off a little bit of harass.
So as of course, it could be a kill streak. He uses that Let's Bounce, but that's only simply to get away from Hell. Where is Sinai going to go? That's a fantastic equalizer coming out from Ball, straight on the mark, and that is going to be an easy double kill picked up by Cloud9.
And that was why Balls is so confident in these games, falling behind on Rumble, because he can destroy people with those equalizers. But at the same time, that took out the jungler and the support of Fnatic, the two weakest people. If that was a team fight in a more contestable, inescapable area, Fnatic may have been able to come out on top of that one because Pushu was effectively untouched. Now Fnatic was actually hoping to get a counterattack because they realized how strong they were. Cloud9 had just pulled back.
Using an ultimate to get vision, making sure Cloud9 are nowhere near it. And they will take themselves their own blue buff. High down the bottom, he's going to get himself a massive wave. But is it going to be too
That's a little greedy. Don't get that last one. You got to run, man.
You got to run. He's going to see a very aggressive Pushu, but he's gone too deep. Zonya's Aglass already been used, though. He's going to get a bounce. Stretching strike was used. That's going to be the stun card. High's going to go down here. And Fnatic managed to get themselves a guerrilla warfare strike.
There's just not that much ward control from Cloud9 right now. You can see they're trying to get some of it back. There was a Boots of Mobility rush by Lemon Nation, which actually diminished the amount of early wards he was able to put down. And against Fnatic, you're really playing with fire when you're low on wards, because at one point, Fnatic actually wins a lot of their games because they force the enemy to overward since they're so good at controlling you with their rotations. So Cloud9 is actually kind of countering right now by actually underwarding and just hoping to outmaneuver Fnatic when they go for plays. That was just High getting burned by a little bit of extra farming.
So check it out once again as we approach the 23-minute mark. 500 gold between these two teams, both got 3 towers down. Just the one dragon so far, I believe, that's gone towards Cloud9, maybe 2 actually. Not too sure on my exact maths there. But the dragon will be up in 50 seconds regardless, and Fnatic this time may have positional control. You can see there's a couple of wards from Cloud9 just on the river, but nothing around the dragon, and sure enough, Fnatic pinged straight on it.
Soaz is actually very strong right now on his Zac with a Spirit Visage and a Sunfire Cape. He's much too large for Sneaky to deal with by himself at the moment, and Cloud9 has definitely tried to control these games from the Dragon area, but Fnatic has controlled them by catching people out of position.
Let's bounce used from Soaz. He's going in. High's already used to jump out of it. There's the Zonya's Hourglass. Great damage on towards Peke. Can he turn it back around? No! He can't get the Urchin Strike. This time Meteos can, but may well be the detriment of his own health. He's going to go down. Soaz finally gets dropped. Cell Division Pump. Look at the damage coming out from Balls. Absolutely melts Fnatic down. Cyanide's going to try and save Soaz, but Cloud9 turned this fight on its head. Can they get the ace? They can just get the slide on towards him. Pissing out and doesn't find his target. I feel Cyanide may have done just enough to escape this one. A 4-4-3.
And even though that fight was a crazy turnaround, it's still a close one. Check out Fnatic thinking they have this fight because they catch Sneaky and Lemon Nation a little bit. Meteos re-engages. Even though Peke was bursted down, that effectively felt like a 1-for-2 because Meteos was taken down as well. We have to cut away from that though because Cloud9 is trying to take the Dragon here.
And they're going to get it. That's going to slide the gold into 3,000 in their favor. That is a big, big turnaround for Cloud9 because they were the ones that got engaged on that hook from Lemonation on Soaz during Let's Bounce. Absolutely stopped him in his tracks. And Fnatic, they were a little overconfident going into that fight, I feel. Let's look at the items. Let's look what's going on between these teams because we're going to have a moment of respite here, I feel.
Maybe.
As I'm just looking at Pushu.
D-Man, game 1 broke around 25 minutes when Fnatic seemed to pull ahead. That was a 24 or 23-minute fight where Fnatic was trying to pull off a similar maneuver, but this time Cloud9 kind of had a counter for it. I really wonder if now Cloud9's going to take that fight to slingshot themselves ahead. Just taking a look at the items as well, you can see Meteos is a completed item ahead effectively. He's got the Locket of the Iron Solari, whereas Cyanide is just sitting on his Aegis of the Legion. they were able to finish off Pushu that fight and kind of eliminate his threat, whereas Sneaky's going with that Legolas full Archer outside build where he's just trying to poke with piercing arrows. And High hasn't hit his Lichbane yet. I think that would be a moment for Cloud9 to break if they can get there quickly enough.
I'm looking at that last fight. Soaz obviously goes in. He's going to be getting a Let's Bounce on. Didn't really get on too many people. But Pushu has Valkyried into that fight a couple of times now. He's going straight into Balls' Flame Spitter. He's absolutely melting Yellowstar and Pushu right now, as well as Peke. They're all really squishy targets. And he seems to be landing that Equalizer perfectly on point.
Yep.
And they're just melting.
And he's gone with a slightly more defensive Rumble build. This is the magic penetration straight into a Rylai's and then a Negatron Cloak. The reason I love the Negatron Cloak instead of an armor item is because he's diving onto Corki, who, as we've mentioned before, actually does more magic damage than he does physical damage, especially if he's itemizing for those Sorcerer's Shoes. So immediately, Balls is trying to actually turn himself into a bulldozer that runs through Fnatic's teams and finishes off Pushu.
Well, Fnatic know that the blue buff is coming up soon, as to Cloud9. Look at this. You can see the defensive posture from both teams. Cloud9 being the aggressor, though. They're going to come in with that Oracle, clear out the wards.
Oh, Fnatic's waiting.
Fnatic already awaiting. His Lemonation's going to be the focus. Stranglethorns goes down. High's going to get bounced in the air. Will they get the damage, though? Another fantastic Equalizer. Melted Fnatic. Peke gets dropped. Cyanide in trouble. He's all over it. Then Pushu. He's going to get locked down. Valkyrie's out.
Soaz
goes back in there. Yellowstar taken down by Meteos on the backside. Pushu and Soaz having to back out of there. It's simply a 2-for-3 exchange once again. Chaotic fights.
Are we going to have a fight that actually goes all in one direction? It's always 3 for 2, 4 for 3, 2 for 1, 1 for 0. It's always close. That time, Fnatic tried to pull off their brush maneuver, but Cloud9 had the lead and were able to re-engage strongly. I'd say Meteos got a little bit lost in that fight, chasing away from his team, and it allowed Pushu to pick up 2 kills, which is extremely dangerous if you're Cloud9 right now.
So, let's take stock again. This could be an objective picked up here. Cloud9 on this. Oh, Pushu's going to get caught out. He doesn't want a bean of Meteos right now, but he has got ward coverage. He may continue pushing on towards him. He's got cover from the side of Sneaky and Balls, so he doesn't want to pursue too deeply into that unwarded jungle.
So right now, we can see by Peke's build that he is going for more of a split push threat. Twin Shadows and Lichbane, 2 movement speed items right now, as well as helping himself out with a little bit of magic resistance to stop High from diving on top of him. If we're looking at Cloud9's team in general right now, they're generally diving with magic damage. It's Sharks that are trying to keep people on top of Balls as equalizers, and I really do have to hand it to Cloud9 as far as team fights go, because so much of what makes Balls good at Rumble is his team's ability to keep people within his equalizer. We see a lot of Rumble struggle keeping with that, but they have Sneaky's Varus ultimate, the Shark from High, and only Fear from Meteos that are keeping people there. But even so, Fnatic is really struggling to get around that spell.
Well, as of yet, we haven't actually seen Peke. He's not been able to split push either. That's
No.
You know, got to give Cloud9 credit for that one. They've been keeping them fighting over those objectives. Dragon's going to be up in 2 minutes' time. You bet your life that's going to be the focus for both of these teams, as the goal differential is still only 3,500 in Cloud9's favor. 28 minutes gone in this game. We had a 33-minute game in match 1, which Fnatic, you can see, are 1-0 up. That snowballed heavily in their favor. Can Cloud9 do the same? Because these fights are slowly teetering on the edge towards Cloud9.
Yep, but the game definitely has not broken yet. Fnatic is always getting something back, which is preventing heavy pushes from Cloud9 coming out later. This is the Cloud9 mid-game dive that they like to do, but there's no turret there. So what are they going to actually be diving? At this point, they're just trying to take control back of the map. Maybe Cloud9 goes for a few more dragons, maybe they go for a few more barons, or maybe they try and actually catch Fnatic in a ward rotation as they threaten Baron. I'm really not sure, because this game is too close.
This game is very close. There's Pierce now, as you saw from Sneaky when he landed on Peke. It did a lot of damage. He hasn't got a great deal of hit points, and if he gets focused on, you see Pushu low, throwing out those rockets. He will keep them at bay here. Cloud9 seeing if they can siege it down. Fnatic thought about it. Elastic Slingshot being charged up by Soaz, but does get cancelled out.
And there's a monstrous wave in the bottom lane of Cloud9 right now that they would actually want to go down and farm, because that's a huge amount of gold that they'd be able to pick up. But Cloud9 is just so happy about having Fnatic contained to their base right now that they're sitting here for a little while longer.
We'll see where the High keeps on pushing his top lane. See Peke going around to rotate up there. That tower's very low, and Cloud9, I think, have got positional advantage. Peke's going to come in, but I don't think he should be here. They can see they're going to dive in. They're going to see Earth bounce up. Peke taking so low. He gets dropped before he gets a chance to survive. Let's bounce being used. High's going to get focused on. He's taken low. Tower already dropped. Soaz goes in. He gets himself a kill. Now they're on towards Lamination. Cyanide focusing on there. Balls is going to come in. Again, Equalizer this time doesn't find his target. Soaz is so low. Cell Division will be back up. Meteos does manage to turn the fear back towards him. Cell Division used in there. Cyanide and Yellowstar trying to keep them at bay, trying to keep them away. Pushu's backed off already. He's going to come around. That's going to be another kill, and it is another 2-for-1 exchange, again going in favor of Cloud9.
So slowly but surely, Cloud9 is winning fight after fight, and they've now moved their gold lead to 5,000. They caught Peke that time, trying to make a rotation towards defending that turret. High definitely manned up and went for the kill. He's really just trading his life for Peke's life over and over again. He's 2-5 on Fizz. Even through the exhaust, they were able to burst him down, but then you can see Sneaky had to finish off the turret for the safety of this dive, and Balls was trying to zone out the rest of the Fnatic team. If Balls had actually pinned Pushu with that equalizer, it could have been a much better fight for Fnatic, and they maybe could have taken the inhibitor. But because they didn't, Fnatic's on the counterattack.
Uh-oh, Peke goes in, uses that Destiny, finds Lamination. He's going to go down. That will be Peke picking up the kill there, and this may open up the Dragon. Pushu's already starting it out there. I don't think Cloud9 can fight it. It was a big gold lead for Cloud9, let's not forget. So this is not going to put Fnatic in it just yet.
It was still amazing timing there for Fnatic to make a move down there. Peke still had his ultimate up because he got caught in the first fight and was then able to use it to catch Lemonation. You could tell that Cloud9 was trying to use Dragon as an objective to extend their lead. That's why Lemonation was down there ahead of his team. He just didn't expect Fnatic to so aggressively pursue that objective since Fnatic had slowly lost so many previous team fights for that one. Again, Fnatic just having that element of surprise and unpredictability that catches Lemonation off guard.
Catching Cloud9 out. Whew. Let's take a moment. Let's take a moment. Let's have a look at this game. Let's see what is developing. The AD carries are becoming monsters. Sneaky, you can see. Bloodthirster, Last Whisper. He actually built up that Zeal quite a while ago, but he switched to a BF sword now, so he wants feels he needs a little bit more damage on that piercing arrow. It's already doing big chunks of Peke when it lands. Pushu, in the meanwhile, you can see that Infinity Edge now completed, along with the Trinity Force and Last Whisper. He's had a while.
Yeah, right now, Pushu is a lot stronger than Sneaky, only because he has completed items, but I think as those carries approach max items, if this game goes for much longer, Sneaky would then actually have an edge on him, but as of now, definitely not. I like the fact that High has completed his Lich Bane. We saw how much he can burst down before, but like, it's too crazy. It's 15-13, and the game still hasn't broken. Every time Fnatic looks out, there is a danger for Cloud9 to pounce on them with Nocturne and a Fizz ult. But then every time Cloud9 peels away or even thinks about splitting up, Peke is just picking them off with his Destiny. Even though Peke is not picking up kills, he has 11 of the 13 kills that Fnatic has been involved in, which is the highest participation on the team. This is so strong for both teams right now, and I usually don't say that.
Peke runs back, gets himself a Seeker's Arm Guard, realizing that piercing arrow is doing a little bit too much damage to him, and he could easily get melted by Sneaky a little bit too quick. And again, walks in, nearly catches it straight back on that. High getting a little bit too close to that tower. Cocoon lands on him. A good burst of damage. So has thought about continuing on that one. You see the Elastic Slingshot didn't quite find his target, and Fnatic beat them out of their turret.
Cloud9 needs a new plan for this, because they have not gotten a smidgen of damage onto that middle turret, and High took half of his health for nearly no reward. Either Cloud9 needs to just split push and try and catch Fnatic in another rotation between turrets, or Cloud9 needs to start warding up the Baron Pit and starving Fnatic out as they try and check. That mid lane siege is not going to work against Twisted Fate and Corki.
Fnatic not getting in position quick enough to defend this inner turret. They are 3 members down there, but again, that piercing arrow, it's rattling through and doing the work it needs to. But that minion wave, it's getting kept off. So as with the Elastic Slingshot, gets hooked in there, but they've gone a little deep. What a fantastic kill there, though. Straight away, Pushu down. That's a massive damage dealer for Fnatic. They've got to back out of this fight, and you can see High, he wants to go in. Urchin strike on towards Cyanide. He's going to go down, the dot ticking away, and that is another 2 kills. 3 kills, count that, for Cloud9 and an objective. They could push on towards the inhibitor here.
And the game may have just broken wide open, D-Man. This is the first decisive victory Cloud9 has had in a fight. There's still 3 people dead on Fnatic, and because the game is late, those death timers are still over 30 seconds. TF and Zyra will try desperately to hold this off, but Cloud9 wants the inhibitor.
Chain of Corruption coming out, but it doesn't find its target. They're still very low, remember. You can see those wildcards coming through. High having to dodge out of that one. He is going to take the inhibitor down, though. So Cloud9 have broken the siege.
This is very cautious right now for Cloud9, though. Peke is going to try and stop this recall as long as possible because he knows Fnatic is coming up and they could rush the Baron, right? So if Cloud9 doesn't recall together, the wildcards are going to keep them slow. See, they're going to keep chasing this one. Cloud9 needs to try and make this escape. The rest of Fnatic, though, is going to run towards Baron. This is testy.
Oh, so Cloud9 are backing off. They're going to all base. Have Fnatic going to get in there quick enough? You can see there's a giant wave on the bottom wave pushing on towards that inner turret. They're not going to worry about that, though. Although they are. Cloud9 all going towards it.
They actually forced everyone on Cloud9 to build home guard boots with that maneuver. So that Peke play just cost Fnatic, or Cloud9, thousands of gold, and they're still going for it. If they corner themselves here, the game could be over. Cloud9 has their ultimates up. They're going!
Equalizer goes in. Peke flashes away from it. They're going to see getting hooked in there. That's a great lash straight away coming out from Lemonation. Pushu gets drilled down. Cyanide in trouble. Fnatic are dropping like flies, and Cloud9 can just turn onto Baron themselves. High's pursuing on towards Peke. He's not going to let him escape here, but it's the Baron going to Cloud9 that will turn the fight on his head.
And I feel like that was the last-ditch effort for Fnatic, trying to desperation Baron, but Cloud9 saw exactly what was coming. They made it back in time, and the fact that all 5 people on their team purchased home guard boots gave them the seconds that were required to stop that Baron. There are still 2 people down on Fnatic, and Baron buff on 5 for Cloud9. This turret seems indefensible.
So Cloud9 pushing in. Have they turned this game on its head? Have they done enough? 33 minutes, game 1 that Fnatic picked up. 36 minutes now, Cloud9 seemingly charging through the base of Fnatic. Have they done enough to take this game to all square in the series?
You can hear the Cloud9 chants now coming out from this heavily North American crowd. And based on those last sequence of events, it's going to take a whole lot for Fnatic to come back in this game. They needed Peke to get strong in order to split push. Fnatic was staying alive mainly by catching individuals off for Cloud9. But now that there are 2 inhibitors down for Fnatic, Cloud9 doesn't need to worry about maintaining presence in 2 out of the 3 lanes. Every single person on Cloud9 can go back and shop and push down that 3rd inhibitor, and Fnatic is effectively forced to defend that with 4 people, because Fnatic actually needs 1 person full time to defend the 2 waves of super minions.
Dragon spawns, and Cloud9 are ready and waited. That Baron buff on them has already taken down an inhibitor. The top wave being pushed out by Fnatic, but it is Cloud9 that are in the driving seat right now. Fnatic trying to keep those super minions at bay, but everything is being taken away from them. Dragon goes, Blue goes. It's only a matter of time before Cloud9 come knocking on the front door.
Yeah, and they have many cloaks as well. Lemonation has done well with his objective gold. He's got a couple Megatron cloaks in there, totaling 186 magic resist right now. He's going to be wanting diving in with the rest of the team, and this is a full magic damage Fnatic team. This is Lemonation just calling it out and being like, I don't need armor. I'm a tanky support right now.
I'm a tanky support. And that's simply like all he needs. But Sneaky's piercing arrows have been on point. Every single time the fights start for Fnatic, they're about half hit points. Peke or Pushu already getting targeted every single time. So they're going into the fight at 3/4 health.
And all it takes is one of High's sharks, and they spam down onto that target, because Meteos will go in with Fizz, their dive buddies, the equalizer comes down on top of it, and that person is dead. It starts the fight 4v5. Cloud9 has some of the best team fight coordination in the world, and that's the reason they were 30-3 in the North American LCS. Round 2.
High comes around the side there. They're going to dive on towards Peke. He's just going to get dropped where he stands. Equalizer comes down. Pushu trying to put as much work as he can in, but he just can't fight down Cloud9. He's putting the rockets out, but it doesn't matter. The rest of his team have dropped like flies. It's going to be the 3rd inhibitor of the game going to Cloud9. Cloud9 will close this game out surely. There's nothing Fnatic can do. We're going to game 3, ladies and gentlemen. North America strikes back.
Another clean team fight for Cloud9, and absolutely they struck back with a vengeance. Both of these games, D-Man, were incredibly close, and I can't wait for game 3.
Cloud9 take victory against Fnatic. We are all square. As the focus from High, the crowd absolutely loving it. The American champions putting up the fight that honestly we thought was going to come, because game 1 was close, game 2 was close, game 3 is going to be awesome.
I don't know what's going to happen. Just because we got to keep it, we know Fnatic's back on the blue side next. And we know how well High did with that Fizz pick. He killed Peke 1v1 at the start of that game. Nobody expected that coming in. Fnatic could not pull the mid-game triggers. They went with a much different style from game 1 until game 2. I almost feel like they have to go back to the first style for their third game here because Cloud9 seems to be warming up here. They had to come in cold to this. Second game was great.
And let's not forget, Fnatic back on the blue side. Will that be a big difference? Who knows? Because these two teams have been slugging it out. What do we see? They've switched to 2v1s. Do we see anything from them? Because that was the startup this time around.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be one great discussion on the analyst desk
Absolutely.
for this one because we all didn't know what was happening coming into this. This was one of the greatest unknowns. I felt like these are two incredibly strong teams. Number one from NA, number one from EU. I don't know if lane swapping is the answer for this one because they're just brawling with each other.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear what the guys have to say at the desk. It's going to be over to Trevor. Take it away, guys, to break down that win.
Thank you very much, D-Man. And another fantastic, fantastic game. We'll get to the team fights and the crazy action a little bit later. I want to go back to picks and bans, talk about the fact that Fizz was first picked by Cloud9, and Xpeke picked Twisted Fate into Fizz. That is a detrimental lane matchup. It's one that Xpeke has lost before in the past. And I think he was hoping to play the map a little more, but it just didn't work out for them.
And I think that comes with confidence from his first game. He outplayed high and won lane pretty significantly in the first game, and I think he thought, oh, this guy's not that good. I can get away with a not-so-good lane matchup, but obviously he just couldn't pull it out.
I think this really showcased the strengths of Meteos' jungle style as well. Last game we saw, of course, High getting down early and then struggling not getting those blue buffs and Xpeke getting that really big lead on Kassadin. But the opposite of that is kind of what we saw this game. With the solo kill onto Xpeke early, Meteos was able to become an absolute monster. He had over 4,000 HP on Nocturne by the end of the game, over 100 CS up over Cyanide as well. When that mid lane is winning, what he can do from the jungle is magic.
The issue with the mass farming jungle is just that the other jungler has to capitalize on the ganks, and I want to congratulate Cloud9 there because they really play well, knowing that the enemy jungler is aiming to gank and is not farming, and they've dodged a lot of these ganks the entire game.
So talk to me a little bit about the junglers as we were on there. And we're talking about the early game because we've seen some 3v1 lane pushes there, and Cloud9 try to push the top lane, they try to push the inner turret down as well, but they sort of were half committed, half in, half out. I know you had some thoughts on that, Crappo.
I really feel for Fnatic, next game they should try to match and go for two versus two lanes and 1 against 1 because they had the better level 1. They could have scouted ahead, they could have gotten wards out. If you match Cloud9 2 against 2 and 1 against 1, I think you're going to come out ahead. Especially the way Cloud9 pushed their level 1 was really good. They went for early 3v1, early push, which means you kill one wave, pushing the next. Compared to Fnatic, they were trying to zone balls of XP, and they went for stacked wave push, which is really bad if the enemy team just pushes on through.
And I can't help but be disappointed that, in the first game I pointed out, Pushu's Sork Boots build only works when he's ahead. This is a game where he needs MR. He's up against double AP, and both these guys rushed Sork Shoes. He instantly exploded multiple times because like 30 minutes into the game, he has no MR items. He's sitting at base MR plus runes. And really, if he just had built a Negatron Cloak or early Mercs, none of that would have ever happened. He would never have gotten chunked, and those teamfights would have went the way of Fnatic.
He also built a Lost Whisper right after Triforce, and I think that's the point where he should have actually invested into a Negatron Cloak, because I don't think Mercury Threads are as gold efficient against a team like this, because you don't need the tenacity. Fizz is going to blow you up, like his ulti is going to hit you. Tenacity doesn't affect you as much.
Yeah. We're getting set up for game 3, so just closing thoughts there, Freak.
Yeah, so what I actually wanted to talk about was some of the team fights and how those were set up, because when you look at Peke's build, he was building very defensively to not die to Fizz, was trying to be a split push nightmare. It took a very, very long time to set up and never really got to be useful. But comparing the composition, specifically how the junglers were set up, so Fizz and Nocturne get to dive in there and kill off Pushu. They get to survive through the Zyra Peel and the Corki Burst, whereas Cyanide's Elise never gets to do anything because he's under-leveled, he's under-farmed, and Pushu, even though, or not Pushu, sorry, but Sneaky, even though he's supposed to be get hit by Zac and Elise, gets hit by just Zac, who gets peeled by Thresh, and then you have an AD carry who's shooting and an AD carry who's Zed. Or an AD carry who's dead, rather. Meanwhile, Rumble's tossing. Yeah, there was no Zed. Unfortunately, that was banned.
Zed makes people dead. So
but yeah, the back lines were completely different due to how well the front lines for each team performed.
So I got a little wrong. We do have a little bit more time to talk about these fights, and I want to ask you guys now. We missed. Some of the ultimates were a bit sloppy. There's, these team fights were not as crisp, not as clean as maybe game 1, which are a lot more sort of decided. And we've seen both teams trying to flank, coming from the sides, coming from different angles. And my question is now, was that team being caught out? Was that team simply reacting? Because that was a high kill game. I think it was like 18-13 towards the end.
European teamfights generally go a lot slower. When you saw a bot lane where Cyanide was Soaz was trying to zone with his elastic slingshot, normally any EU team would back off there and re-engage after it was down. this is free bait for Cloud9. They like diving in with 2 people. They had the hook on Zach there, and then they just dove, and nobody's ready for that.
The barrier is really on, or the burden of the fight is really on Cloud9 to get in onto TF and Corki. And TF is really easy to get on, but you saw Expeke really smartly. He built double move speed, Twin Shadows and Lichbane. That is kind of a defensive stat for him, so he can easily kite Fizz and Rumble. But you saw Pushu, once again, he didn't build any MR, and he had to play really far back or just risk instantly dying. And with Fnatic's 2-threat comp, because they have a Zac top, it's really hard for you to dish out damage when one of your carries has to play really back.
And the other thing I want to point out as well is you talked about kind of how the team fights were set up, is basically it's, Cloud9 didn't play all that well against Twisted Fate. They got caught out multiple times, and then as you had sort of mentioned, Doublelift, the rest of the game is Cloud9 trying to find openings and just diving in and going hard, and those are the 2 types of fights that you kind of found, was a hardcore engage on one side and getting caught on the other.
All right, my question to you guys now is, who is going to win Game 3? After watching the first 2 matches, does anybody want to change their picks? Doublelift, I'm asking you. Cloud9 or Fnatic?
Oh, God, I can't stress this enough. Just an item choice would have won this game for Fnatic in my mind. So I really have to say, I'm switching my pick to Fnatic, dude. Like, I can't justify. I'm sorry.
Man.
I cannot justify this win on Cloud9's part. It was, to me, Cloud9 played really well. They played solid. They're a world-class team. But Fnatic really just had these small issues that eventually snowball. I don't expect Expeke to get first blooded again, 1v1 mid. No way that's going to happen Game 3.
Quickly down the line, Fnatic or Cloud9?
Fnatic.
Fnatic or Cloud9?
Yeah, Fnatic for me as well, especially because they've got that blue side, and if they mimic the same pick and ban process, I think they did really well in Game 1, and they can take it here.
And Freak?
I also think Fnatic, I think High's champion pool is getting a little stretched thin, and that's a big risk for these guys.
Well, guys, we need to take a very quick break, but when we return, it is the 3rd and final game in this quarterfinal matchup between Fnatic and Cloud9. The next team to take out a Nexus will lock down the first spot in this weekend's semifinals. It's all on the line for these 2 squads when the Season 3 World Championship returns. Stick around, guys.
Kill Soaz. Jesus. Back here. Puzu. Yellstar. Cyanide.
Soaz.
Get the bombs. Go.
We're going to Game 3, ladies and gentlemen. North America strikes back.